Welcome back to another episode of A Better Way of Earning. I am your host, Dr. Michelle S. Thomas. In today's episode, we are going to discuss digital opportunities and the new workforce. Every generation experiences a technological shift. For previous generations, it was the Industrial Revolution. Later, it was personal computing. Then came the internet. Today, we are living through the rise of automation, artificial intelligence, and digital platforms. And unlike previous shifts, this transformation is happening rapidly. According to research from McKinsey and Company, up to 30% of current work activities could be automated by 2030. That statistic often creates fear. But automation does not only eliminate work, it also creates new forms of work. The real question becomes who adapts quickly enough to participate in the opportunities being created. So, today, let's examine what's happening in the workforce today. There are three major shifts that are reshaping how people earn income. Shift number one, remote work normalization. Before 2020, remote work was often viewed as a perk. Today, it is a structural part of the workforce. Millions of professionals now work for companies located in entirely different cities or even different countries. This expands opportunity, but it also increases competition. Talent pools are now global. Remote work has become one of the most visible changes in the modern workforce. But before we accept it as better or worse, we need to understand what it actually requires. First, let's clarify something many people confuse remote versus hybrid. Remote work means your role is fully location independent, which means wherever you are within the world, you are still successfully able to accomplish and achieve the goals and the task of said position. Hybrid work, on the other hand, means a combination of in office and remote days. That distinction matters because each requires a different level of structure, discipline, and lifestyle adjustment. Let's break this down. For professionals, remote work offers flexibility, but it also introduces new challenges that are often underestimated. One of the biggest is boundary management. When your home becomes your workspace, work hours can extend unintentionally. Personal time becomes less defined. Rest can feel less restorative. But there's also the mental and emotional impact that remote work brings on. Some professionals experience increased focus and productivity. They also find that they've reduced their stress by minimizing the commute or the morning and afternoon commute. However, others experience things like isolation, reduced social interaction, and difficulty disconnecting from work. I'll tell you from my own personal experience. When I began my entrepreneurial journey, I intentionally had an exterior office outside of my home so that I could run my multiple businesses from there, still in the same mindset that I was for decades of getting up, heading to the office, getting work done, having a dedicated time frame, and then leaving and coming back home. It wasn't until a couple of years later that I recognized that the ROI of having that external office was not beneficial for any of my companies. So I made the executive decision to let that external office go and move my operations completely entirely into my home. And again, in the beginning, it was, well, in the beginning, it was chaos trying to get organized. So if anybody's ever done that, then you know what I'm talking about. But once I got things settled and a routine going, I was working from home, still navigating everything. I have a dedicated office space. So that was great, right? Probably about 2 years in, I began to travel again with my best-selling books and my talk show and my conferences that I was hosting. And I started to notice there was a difference in my socialization, not from the fact of not being able to communicate with people or connect with people, but it was something more internal that was happening with me. The energy that it would take for me to actually get out of the house or get into the space that I needed to get into became harder and more of a process for me, which was different. It wasn't that I wasn't excited to do the things that I was doing or meet the people that I was meeting. It's just it created this internal anxiety in me on every time it was time for me to get into the space. While at my conferences, or if I was in big crowds or in really massive situations, my assistant began to notice how um, stressed I would become. And so she created these more like cocoon times for me to escape from the crowd so I can regain my energy. And again, I'm telling you this because this was different for me. I've always been a social person. I've never had anxieties. I've never experienced this before, and I really could not explain it. I didn't know what was happening. One of my expertise is neuroscience. And so instead of approaching this from an emotional standpoint, I took a dive into what was happening within my brain, exploring the triggers. What was going on? When did it happen? How did it make me feel? And that's where I understood that I was beginning to experience the isolation and the reduced social interaction based off the fact that I never or I rarely left home while I was working. And that process for me, once I realized that again, my assistant built in parameters where I can kind of escape because I would become overstimulated being in these environments now where 3 years, 5 years before, I did not have that experience. The moral of the story for me was I had to begin to condition or restructure my work from home process, needed to build in dedicated times for me to get out of the house, not just for events, not just for meetings, but to get into more socially charged environments so that my body can become used to that again. My brain could readapt to being in those spaces again. And it took a while. It took a moment for that to really re register. You'll be surprised how adaptive your brain becomes. And again, the reason that I'm telling you this story is because I am a social person. I have always been a social person. So even for someone like me, um, I never thought that this would impact me. So there are some people out there that's thinking, well, that's never been my personality, so I won't be one of those that it will impact. But what I found through studies is the more social that you are naturally, the more apt you are or your personality is to experience the shift in the mental and emotional impact. For those who are not social or maybe even introverted, moving and working from home may not feel like isolation. It actually may feel like recharging for them. because if you have a personality where being in large crowds from the beginning creates anxiety, being able to be more productive and working from that home space is more of a protection than an isolation. So, just a little bit of information just so that you can begin to recognize not only which realm, I'm not saying everybody will experience all of the things that we're talking about, but I want you to become aware so that you can build in parameters to ensure that it doesn't become extreme on whichever end of the spectrum it is. Hopefully that helps. Research continues to show that social connection plays a role in our overall well being, and remote work can unintentionally reduce those touch points. So the question becomes, do you have the structure to support yourself in a remote environment? Because remote work doesn't remove responsibility, it redistributes it. Moving on to shift number two, platform economies. Digital marketplaces have allowed individuals to offer services directly to clients, from freelance design to consulting, writing, programming, and digital marketing. Professionals now can monetize their skills independently. Platforms have created new entry points into entrepreneurship. The rise of digital platforms has created more earning opportunities than ever seen before. We have freelance platforms, marketplaces, learning platforms, and investment platforms. Access is no longer the issue, understanding them is. Because with increased access comes increased decision making. And without clarity, people can sign up for multiple platforms, pay for tools they don't fully use, invest time without clear return, and spread themselves way too thin. More platforms does not automatically mean more income. Better earning comes from better alignment. So here's some practical guidance. Before joining or paying for any platform, ask yourself, one, what is my goal? Is it income generation, skill development, networking, or exposure, or a combination of, of a few? Two, does this platform support that goal clearly? And I'm going to let you know, reading on the surface level of, let's take a CRM, a customer relations management system. Let's take that. On the surface, there's a lot of platforms that market and advertise that they are CRM platforms. What I've learned throughout my entrepreneur journey is not all platforms are created equal. Each platform has its key or highlight of what it does. And without understanding what your industry is or what your goals are, you may find yourself signing up for a platform that, in the end, as you become more aware of your business operations, will not properly service those end goals. There are CRM platforms that handle just the intake of customer information. There are some that have marketing aspects to them or sales aspects to them. However, in each phase of your business development, it is going to require a different level of connection with your customers. My first biggest piece of advice that I can give any entrepreneur out there that is looking to add more systems into your process is understand at least your 3 to 5 year goals. That will help you to determine which platform system will work for you. There are platforms that have different stages and levels of expansion and growth And this is what you're looking for because the worst thing to do is to sign up for a platform, build everything out into that platform, and as your business expands and grows, realizes that now you have to find a whole different system to start all over again. That takes time, it takes energy, it creates a gap in communication with your customers, or it will require for you to pay for multiple systems at the same time until you get the new system up and running. Oftentimes, we sign up, especially when we're starting out, we sign up based on the cost. I mean, let's be honest. We sign up for platforms that fit our budget, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you want to make sure that it has the ability to not only fit where you are, but as I just spoke about, it can grow to at least 3 years of your operation. But does it have the capabilities to accurately communicate to the other systems that you are putting in place? We look at automation as a way to streamline our time, make our businesses more effective and efficient, but most of us tend to not fully evaluate the workflow of all of the systems that we are implementing. If your CRM does not communicate with your marketing platform or your sales platform or your warehouse system or your inventory system, then you're still having to manually transfer information between the two. So sometimes the lower cost platforms do not have the automation process built in. That's why the cost is lower. Again, the point of this is to ensure that you really understand what your goals are. If it's income generation, you really want to make sure that this automation system is supportive, is helpful, and it is conducive to your time and your revenue goals. Because if not, you'll find yourself spending more time navigating each individual system than actually taking the time to manage your businesses. And all that brings me to your third question. What is the cost? Not just financially, but in time and attention. Because what you have to recognize, especially as aspiring entrepreneur, that time is also an investment. Again, we jump into our business endeavors, and most of us start out alone, but we're not able to actually get into the growth of the business because we're spending so much time managing, navigating, fixing, building the operations. And I will tell you, like anyone else who's been past this point, it is a very time consuming process. If you want to do business the right way, you must take the time to build a proper foundation for your business. That means that you understand the systems, you have the right systems in place, you understand the processes and the outcome of said processes. What you do not want to do is to continue to invest that time for years trying to get it right. So let's make sure that we are evaluating properly. We're slowing down just a little bit before we jump into these investments. And for those who've been in business for a while, I challenge you to go back through all of your systems. Ensure that you're not paying for platforms or processes or apps that you're not fully utilizing or are no longer serving the purpose of what your business goals are. That little bit of money, whether it is $10 a month or $40 a month, is money that can be applied to a better system to help your business bring more revenue in. Not every opportunity is your opportunity. So that means that not every platform, every app, every opportunity or growth that other people are touting about with their business can become your opportunity. Know your business, know your audience, know your systems. That clarity protects your resources. And those resources are money, time, and productivity. Okay, on to shift number 3, artificial intelligence integration. AI tools are not replacing every job, but they are changing how work is performed. Professionals who understand how to work alongside AI tools will likely outperform those who resist them. AI today can assist with research, analysis, content development, administrative efficiency. Those who learn to leverage these tools increase productivity tremendously. Let's be honest. Artificial intelligence is one of the most talked about shifts in today's workforce. And for many people, it brings uncertainty. Questions like, will it replace all jobs? Do I really need to learn this? Or am I already behind? Here at A Better Way of Earning, we're here to bring this into perspective. AI, my friends, is a tool. And like every tool before it and every tool after it, its impact depends on how it is used. As I said before, AI is already assisting with writing and communication, data analysis, administrative tasks, research and summarization, and workflow automation. This does not eliminate work entirely, but it does change how our work and our systems are performed. So many people right now are afraid because of news and paid news and hype and conspiracy theorists and propaganda that says that beware because AI is coming through. Um, they're listening to everything that you do. They are recording everything. They're taking over jobs. Humans are going to be rendered obsolete. My husband and I were, um, we're movie buffs. And so just a few weeks ago, I when I was creating this episode, I decided that one Friday night we were going to sit down and we were going to watch some old AI movies or AI themed movies. And so one of the movies that we watched was I Robot. And so just looking at during that time when it was produced, don't quote me on this, but I think it was like 2003 or 4. I can't remember. But from that time, the concept that they had for what AI was going to do within robots, and then looking at what robots and things are happening right now, there was some great points and there was some really great hype things. I tell you all this because I want you to learn more before you panic. Whatever side of the coin that you're on, whether AI is good for us or whether it's bad for us, I challenge you to at least learn more. Spend some time with it. If you're new to AI, here are some simple and practical ways to learn more about it and figure out where you stand for yourself. The first thing that I challenge you to do is what I call exposure before mastery. Begin to look into simple, basic tools to help you with everyday tasks. Let's take your email. We all have email, well, most of us have email. But if you've noticed over the past year or so, Google has added AI to your email system. And basically, there's a little tag up top that says or asks you, do you want AI to summarize your email? Most people click X on it and just keep going because we're all used to the same process and the same routine. Try it. See how having AI to summarize your emails and help you with email responses, How does that feel? Does it help your day? Is it streamlining processes? Are you learning to take those summarizations and be more productive? Or is it distracting? It's totally up to you. The benefit of just being a human being is you have the option of choice. Does not mean that you have to dive all in and change everything around in your life and become all an AI expert, but you do need to at least understand the mechanism and how it works. AI could help you with drafting those emails, as we just talked about. It can help you with summarizing the information, and it can also help you organize ideas. And so, as I'm building things for some or most of my businesses, it may stimulate or trigger a thought that can help one of the other businesses. And so, what I created in my AI system is literally, it's not a sexy title, it is called the dump zone. So, I created the dump zone because I have a tendency that if an idea or a concept pops in my head, I want to really hash it out. And what I've learned over the years, again, I know myself and I know what my strengths are and I understand what my weaknesses are. And one of my weaknesses is that it's almost like I chase the shiny idea because something popped in my head. So I go off on a tangent to really source that out to see if it's a viable concept. Well, that impacts what I was actually working on in the first place, right? So I created this AI space that's called the dump zone. And every time that I have a new idea or a new direction or a new concept that pops in my head, I put it into the dump zone. My AI system is programmed to understand that once I put something into the dump zone, its job is to understand which company is for and source out the viability and the steps of implementation for that idea. So that allows me to go back to focusing in on what I was originally working on. And then when I have downtime, I can go back to the dump zone and see what the outcome is. There are some projects that are simple and easy for me to implement into said business, and I can initiate that or pass that on to my team and they can execute it. There are others that takes longer planning, more financial planning in order for us to really source this project out. But what does that do for me? It keeps me focused. It keeps my businesses on a trajectory that it is on plan because every business has a budget, every business has projects and capital improvements, things that have to be done for that year. And what you don't want to do as a business owner negatively impact the financial outcome for this year's budget for said business or next year's budget for said business. I tell you this because I need all business owners, especially small business owners, to understand that your ideas and your concepts, even though you're the owner, you need to be smart about it. You need to evaluate what that implementation is going to cost your business in interruption, resources, time, and the burn rate that's that budget that you have already established for that year or next year's budget. What is the burn rate that's going to happen with the new implementation of something new? Oftentimes, our teams get frustrated because we are, for lack of better terms, behaving all over the place because we have a new, in my words, nice and shiny idea that we want to see immediately, but it may not be the time. It may not be relevant or even feasible to do for a few years. Some things you have to take really a longer term to plan, evaluate the outcome, measure it up against the economy and Whether you're a product or service based, where we are in the business cycle or the economic cycle. Are we in a recessive period, or are we in the rise of the economy where we can spend more money because customer base is spending more money? Again, just things to consider. Back to what we were talking about. What I want you to do if you're new to the AI is, again, exposure before you determine your mastery level. That is basic tools, drafting emails, summarizing information, organizing ideas. The second thing that I challenge you to do is to learn through application. Instead of studying AI abstractly, use it in your current workflow, just like what I just explained about my dump zone. Um, it's not just there just to park ideas. It literally is a process to help me to evaluate each and every entity that I own to see new ideas, improvement ideas to help our businesses continue to grow and develop. And the third challenge is to stay curious, not fearful. If you spend all your time buying into all of the propaganda and all of the fear management that's happening out here, or the fear marketing that's out here right now, you may render yourself in a circumstance that, as the companies around you, as jobs around you, as the world around you continues to develop and grow, you fall behind. Listen, the point of this, my friends who are just learning about AI, you do not have to become an expert overnight, but you do need to become familiar because AI is here and is not going away anytime soon. Are there good aspects and bad aspects of it? Absolutely. But you decide. You are in control of how much, how little, or what you know about your AI system. Question is no longer, will AI replace me? The better question is, how can I use AI to increase my value? Because professionals who learn to work alongside technology tend to expand their capabilities. Recent workforce reports show continued growth in technology supported roles and digital service industries. At the same time, traditional roles are being redesigned to incorporate new tools. This is not the disappearance of work. This is the evolution of work. And evolution favors adaptability. As we close, I want you to ask yourself this: am I resisting change because it feels unfamiliar? Or am I preparing myself to participate in the next version of the workforce? Because preparation changes everything. As always, remember this: earning is not just about money, it's about access, it is about ownership, it is about the ability to make informed choices in a world that is constantly shifting. You do not have to panic. You do not have to react emotionally, but you do have to stay aware. A better way of earning exists so that we can think clearly, move strategically, and build systems that protect our futures, not just for ourselves, but for the generations watching how we respond to rapid change. If today's conversation challenged you, sit with it. If it stretched you, research it. If it empowered you, apply it. And if you're ready to explore practical tools, real opportunities, and an ecosystem designed to support professionals and companies navigating this modern economy, I invite you to continue the journey with us and bring a friend along, because earning differently is not rebellion, it is evolution. Until next time, stay informed, stay prepared, and mostly important, stay in ownership of your choice. And my friends, if today's conversation resonated with you, take a moment to think about how you're showing up in the world of work. Are you being seen for everything that you bring to the table or just what fits on one sheet of paper? That's exactly why Ascent Global exists, to give you a space where your full value is recognized and where opportunity meets you differently. You can start today on the platform with the unique name delivering the future of how we work and earn. AECENDT.com, ascent.com, because there is a better way of earning today.